Whether we like it or not, Brian Schottenheimer is the head coach, and he's not going anywhere anytime soon. I know that Dallas didn't hire the flashy offensive coordinator in Ben Johnson. They didn't hire the flashy defensive coordinator in Aaron Glenn, and some people might still be mad about that. Some might have gotten over it by this point, but at the end of the day, this is about winning football games. So with the head coach now in place, the Cowboys did hire a defensive coordinator in Matt Eberflus. Not a great head coach in Chicago, but was a good defensive coordinator with the Colts and with the Bears to start his career there. On the offensive side of the ball, we've been kind of waiting because we heard that Brian Schottenheimer would be calling plays for this team, but we still needed to know who was going to be the offensive coordinator, who would be his right-hand man in terms of figuring out an offensive scheme and an identity. And today, they found him. His name is Clayton Adams, previously with the Arizona Cardinals as their offensive line coach. Adams has a pretty extensive career. He's moved all over the place. He's been in Colorado. He's been in Indianapolis. He's been with the Arizona Cardinals as of late. A lot of different teams, college, NFL, and for many Cowboys fans like myself, I'm included in this, this is my first time really hearing his name, or at least when the reports started coming out that they were going to interview him. Did I really know who he was? No, but I did learn who he was, looked at his time in the NFL, his success in Arizona, and I believe it's a great hire. Probably the best of the Cowboys hires so far. If you kind of want an idea of who this guy is, go back and watch that 2023 game when Dallas played the Cardinals. Josh Dobbs was at quarterback, and James Conner averaged over 7 yards per carry. With Josh Dobbs at quarterback, that offense ran all over the Cowboys. Dallas couldn't stop any runs to the edge, and Conner pretty much won them that game. So if you want to go back and watch one particular game, that's probably the one. Now, in the NFL, you have your offensive line coach, your tight ends coach, your offensive coordinator, your passing game coordinator. There's a lot of different guys that kind of have a say in how an offense goes. But if you look at Clayton Adams, just look at the raw stats, the box score stuff from his time in Arizona and how that offensive line ran the ball, the kind of guys that they had on their line and were still able to dominate at certain parts of the season. It's really, really impressive. Now, you got to remember he was the offensive line coach. Kyler Murray wasn't all that great this year. Marvin Harrison Jr. wasn't really involved enough. Just remember that because Clayton was the O-line coach, and he likely had more to do with the run game schemes, the zone scheme versus gap scheme stuff. And this is where he ranked as an O-line coach last season in Arizona. 7th in total rushing, 5th in sacks allowed, 3rd in quarterback pressures allowed. Nick Harris pointed that out, a great stat, and then I tweeted, I kind of got to digging on NFL Pro, looking at the advanced metrics, and I just had to post this. In 2024, Arizona's run game ranked 2nd in rush yards per play, 7th in EPA per rush, 2nd in rushing yards before contact, 9th in success percentage, and 4th in 10-plus yard runs. The most impressive part, they did all of that while facing the 7th highest stacked box percentage in the league. That's pretty impressive to me. And Cardinals ran outside the tackles on nearly 60% of their runs. And as a Cowboys fan, that is music to my ears. For reference, from a guy like Mike McCarthy that loved to run it up the gut on an inside zone for a 1-yard gain, Dallas ranked 28th in the league in terms of run percentage outside the tackles. I remember we were begging them to run something to the outside of the offensive, to the outside of the tackles. In 2024, Dallas and Mike McCarthy were around 40%. The Cardinals were around 60%. That is a huge jump. Football season might be winding down, but that doesn't mean the action has to stop. BetUS has you covered with everything from NBA, NHL to college hoops, UFC, and even soccer. So if you've got a feel for the game, why not put it to the test? There's always something to bet on, and the possibilities are endless. And here's the best part. When you sign up, BetUS hooks you guys up with a 150% deposit bonus on your first deposit, and then keeps the momentum going with 125% bonuses on your next two. That's a a serious boost to keep the action rolling no matter the season. Whether it's the thrill of a buzzer beater, a last-second goal, or a knockout punch, BetUS makes every game feel like the biggest of the year. Why let the fun stop with football? Sign up today, snag those bonuses, and keep the momentum going all year long. Thank you to BetUS for sponsoring today's video, and please remember to bet responsibly. When Dallas is putting together their coaching staff, what you're really looking at is their philosophies. And for Adams, his philosophies and the stuff that he does, this is the guy that you want handling your offensive line stuff. He's your offensive coordinator, looking at how to attack defenses with outside runs, pin and pull stuff. This is the guy that we've been needing on this Cowboys staff. Besides Brian Schottenheimer, Adams is next up in terms of who makes the final decision on what they're going to do that week, how they're going to exploit a defense. And in terms of what they want to do, I think Schottenheimer and Adams pair very, very well. I think they're going to get along very, very well. I was talking about this on the way home from the Senior Bowl with Foots. This move, we weren't sure if it was going to happen yesterday, but this move feels like a push towards a better run game. Running the ball not just more, but actually finding ways to run the ball effectively. Not just running it for the sake of running it. Mike McCarthy knew that the run game was terrible, but he still decided to run the ball and run the ball and run the ball, and they still weren't good. So it's not just about running the ball more, it's figuring out ways to run it more efficient. And Dallas was grossly under efficient last year. I think if you're going to try to lean on the run game, keep Dak out of harm's way, keep the offense ahead of the sticks, ahead of schedule, actually run outside runs, outside gap scheme stuff, I'm all for it. I'm totally down for it. We haven't seen really this Cowboys team have a good run game since like 2021 under Kellen Moore. Under Mike, it progressively got worse and worse. And then they lost Tony Pollard and it went to the bottom of the league like that. I think it'd be really nice to have a good, established, and potentially dominant run game. Now, what this hire does for me is it makes me feel like this team or the coaching staff, they're setting themselves up to take a running back early in this draft. Is it Ashton Jeanty? Maybe. I mean, if your goal is to make Dak's life easier where he's not having to throw the ball 35 times, he's facing a ton of light boxes and you still can't run the ball, this is going to be the way to do it. If you get Ashton Jeanty and Clayton Adams does have the success that I think he will, that is helping your quarterback out. We know that Schottenheimer has talked about the importance of a run game. His play calling is literally a run the damn ball. That's what he loves to do. And then you go out and hire a guy that really elevated a, not completely void of talent, but did elevate that offensive line in Arizona. I am all for it. And you guys know, I'm not just here to hype up a hire just because the Cowboys made it. I didn't love the way that they handled the coaching search with Schottenheimer. I still don't love it, but I want this team to win games, and I do think that Clayton Adams gives them a better chance. I don't know, you have to hand it to him, even if you don't like Brian Schottenheimer, which I don't know why you wouldn't like him. You'd be more mad at Jerry Jones. But even if you don't like him, he has put together a very good staff. The philosophies seem to merge very well amongst these guys. I think we're heading towards a run the damn ball, run it well, but let Dak still sling it. Be efficient. I know that sounds crazy after last year. Now, I don't like to really crap on guys. It's not really my thing, but I think we do have to have the conversation that bringing somebody in that is a really good offensive line coach who's going to be your offensive coordinator and taking out a guy like Mike Solari. And I say taking out as in not bringing him back, I don't think Mike Solari was a very good coach. The offensive line just got worse and worse with him here. Guys would start out the beginning of the year pretty good, and slowly it would just taper off and taper off. You have to wonder what he was teaching them, what techniques, what was his idea of offensive line play. And it just seemed like with him here, that offensive line just wasn't good. Maybe Adams can get more out of Tyler Guyton. Maybe he can find a spark in TJ Bass or Brock Hoffman if you bring Hoffman back. I think that's what I'm most excited about. Maybe we can get back to, above average or top 10 in the league in offensive line play. One more quick thing before we go. Dan Rogers tweeted something that I found amazing. This kind of puts it into perspective. If you like watching the Eagles run the ball, the Bills, the Ravens, the Lions, the 49ers, any of those teams. Dan Rodgers said in the 2 seasons that Clayton Adams has been the offensive line coach with Arizona, only 5 teams have a better rush EPA per play, and they all have a rushing attack we're jealous of. Guilty as charged. If the Cowboys want to fix their ground game, hiring Adams would be a good first step, and they did it. So I really like the hire. If you want to, head down to the comments and grade this A, B, C, D, or F. Thank you guys so much for watching. We are back home from the Senior Bowl. Shout out to everyone that watched the content while we were down there. It was a ton of fun. If you want to watch me and Foots talk about guys that impressed us, players that Dallas could definitely draft that were at the Senior Bowl, go check out this video right here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all, and see you next time.